Takulandirani ku AMTV Malawi kuchimake kwa nkhani zenizeni. Ngati nkhani imeneyo kuno kulibe, dziwani kuti nkhani imeneyo ndi yabodza.
You say that these guys are buying mega farms, and indeed I agree for that. And they sometimes tell us that they are out seeking markets for the produce of the Malawians. When they came back, they're the ones sending their produce to those markets. Even sometimes they do send the vendors to buy crops from the poor for the cheap prices. And then they send those goods to those markets. My question is, what plans will you do to reduce that gap? And the second question is that you gave us an example of Man City, right? And there you mean that for the team to win, there must be a good selection of players. And indeed, I agree for that. But according to rational choice theory, it says sometimes people have self-satisfaction first before we attend for others, right? I'm referring this to your team. There's some guys that they are still like pushing this to win, right? My question is, what will you do if you see those guys that are misbehaving? Because we see a good leader. We see a good leader is manipulated with the members, right? So I'm looking those people that are surrounding you, that are supporting you, how will you handle them? That's my question. Sure.
My question is, do you think it is the mindset that Malawians have, or it is our leaders that our economy is unstable?
Okay, I got two questions. Okay, I want to ask the first question, what is the stable percentage of Malawi currency? Like, Menda Gula Mosemango Gwandi 33%, 44, Chanchan. If you add them up together, 100% in Abanga exceed. See? Then end of Fusa, like, you know, the Gakusankan into power. Muzakala Mzabanga, how Muzabanga maintained Banji Gudi, can say out to Zakele stable. Okay, another question, Kodi, like, what does it take? Kuti Kwacha, like devaluation. Like if you say Zodi Munakala Wongadi as a governor, if you know Zodi Gabla Kwacha, you need to have alternative ways. Zodi Kwacha Asakwe Monan. And then now my question is like, my economist, Aguta and Uglisev Bankigo, but we are facing these problems 1, 2, 3, 4. If you're my economist to Ganiga, Monane, this is an Agwete Kwaja. We build Saga public. Kuti Kwaja Asanagwe. What can we do to improve on this? The first one is only Mutamina Maganiza, we know economist here. Aye, Palantamina Maganiza, we know. Monane, that's it. My question is another.
And finally, the last question should come from this side. The last question. Last question, please. Can we hear him in silence, please?
Okay, thank you for giving me this opportunity. My question is to Dr. Kabambe. As you are aware, that Malawi budget has two sides, the current budget and the developmental budget. And there's a trade-off between these two. With the proposal you have presented, is a multi-billionaire project. How are you going to deal with it? Since you said on MGDS of 2005, Professor Mutariga had an opportunity to receive loans since they were forgiven. But if you win on 16 September, you will inherit a huge debt from Dr. Chakwera. How are you going to deal with it? That was my question.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your questions. I know, I think, well, actually, in the interest of time, these questions are more than enough. Can we have silence, please? Can we have order, please? Probably before I hand over the microphone to the principal, I also wanted to ask you one question. Are you ready to be part of this third revolution? Are you ready to participate in this change? Okay, thank you so much. Let me hand over the microphone to the principal.
I wished we had a lot of time. Very interesting questions, which we have this evening. I wished we really have a lot of time so we could have exercised our minds on all those things and share notes and insights. The question of rampant corruption, it's very, very bad. Corruption levels have gone to stinking levels, very, very high. And in the public sector, they are very, very high. I remember discussing with friends that oftentimes when you graduate from Unima and other universities and go into the public sector, you go as a saint, clean slate. But when you go in, you find people that are mischievous. They would sign for 10 nights to go to the field and go there one night and come back as if everything else is okay. You see those things as someone who have just joined the public service. For you to try to do that, it becomes so hard. But immediately you test it, mbuzi kawanchere, you find that people would get 20 nights and not even go conscious free. I remember, I hope I can say this. Can I say? I remember, can I say this? I remember when I was in one office, somebody brought me a bag of money. We need this service. And I said, that's what we do. But no need for you to give me a bag of money. Many people would not reject, but I did. But once you accept that bag of money, once your conscience will trouble you, you receive for the second time, will trouble you less. Next time you'll even be begging for bags of money. That's how bad corruption is. So you find for you to provide any service, you want somebody to give you money and so forth. That's why maybe this generation, as you go in, will need to have a generation that is not tainted with such elements. When we go into government ourselves, we'll put stringent corruption deterrence measures. Number one, we would be doing pre-inspection audits. Before any transaction in the public sector is done, auditors must inspect the process to arrive at that particular transaction and certify and sign for that. You see, a government vehicle can go to the garage, be maintained at 80 million kwacha. On a similar problem of my car, I would only pay 2 million kwacha. A classroom constructed by government can cost 200 million. When a private school can construct the same type and kind of classroom, even better, maybe at 20 million kwacha. As a health sector block by government can be constructed at 250 million kwacha. The same one by a private hospital can be constructed by 30 million kwacha. So every cost and expenditure in government is so catastrophic, the way that they buy things. Because there are so many cars, and there was Cashgate, where a payment can be made of around 1 billion kwacha, paid to something that has never been done. In this recent SONA, the president was made to announce certain projects purported to have been done. Maybe payment was done, but the projects have not been done. It means others have pocketed that money and eaten that money. So What we are saying is first and foremost, as a first deterrent, before any payment is done, an auditor must certify. I have checked the price of this thing. It's the same as the price in the market. The process for which that they have used to arrive at this price was a correct process. I therefore certify that they are not awarding this contract out of tribalism because you are politically connected, because you knew someone, because you bribed someone, but because you are the right person to get that particular contract. At that point, once you certify and sign for that, you'll be held responsible as an auditor. Once that transaction has gone through, at the end of the month, each public institution must be audited by a separate team of auditors to check on those auditors who certified at the beginning, and also check the payment structure at the end of the month. If something has gone wrong, somebody must be held accountable immediately, to be fired, to be prosecuted, or anything else that the law may demand. In that way, we are going to stop this nonsense of corruption. If they said they have certified you have to go to the field for 10 days, somebody must go and check where you slept, and whether indeed you spent 10 nights wherever you went. If it's a contract, they must check that everything was done accordingly. That is the only way that we can stop corruption. We must also have whistle-stop blowers in every institution. If they think that Officer X is receiving bribes to process passports, to process COF, to process driver license, then that information must be used to prosecute and arrest those people. Hence, we need to give proper funding to SCB and give it the full autonomy and independence. In the manifesto for UTM, we are saying there will be no sacred cows, including the president, who will remove the immunity of the president so that everyone else can be held accountable. It doesn't matter you are a president, the vice president, the minister, everyone else will have to be held accountable. We must have systems and processes in place that ensure that we end the era of rampant corruption. Without addressing corruption, all this that we talked about, we can't achieve them. We should forget about them, because everything else will just be going in the hands of few at the expense of everybody else. How do we ensure that there's proper distribution of wealth? It's simply by doing the right things. If you do the right things, because these people that we call them rich, the majority they are rich out of these dubious transactions. They are rich out of these heinous payments. If we stop all this, then we're going to spread opportunities to everybody else across the board in Malawi. But also, once we do this, it means others will be employed in mining sector, others will be employed in tourism sector, manufacturing, other factories, processing agricultural products and so forth. There'll be a lot of jobs. And actually what happens in any economy, we call it a wage equalization theory for those economists that are here. I would say, based on that theory, all salaries in Malawi are artificial. There's no one who is getting a right economically sensible salary, because the theory says you place a wage at a point where no one is no longer willing to provide their labor. Now, if you assume the position of the presidency, the salary is 10 million kwacha, you must ask, are there people to supply labor to be president at 10 million kwacha? Everybody will say, yes, I will do that. Then you have to reduce. How about 5 million kwacha? Would everybody else be willing to be a president? Yes, I will do that. How about 100,000 kwacha? Would everybody be willing to do that? Oh, I will do that. You must bring it down to a point where there's only one man standing who would say, this job at 1,000 kwacha, I would still be willing to provide my labor. The wage rate for that position is that one. Is there any sensible wage rate in Malawi? Economically sensible wage rate? No. Because at every wage rate, everyone else will be willing to provide, to supply labor. Because a lot of people are jobless in Malawi. But when you start growing the economy, and you have more labor available, fewer people willing to supply their labor, the wage rate starts to increase. We call that a wage equalization theory. The wages start to, that's the only sensible economically wage rise that would be there. So once we have done all this, you will simply see the wages starting rising. It is the rise in wages why we're saying a lot of Americans are rich. British are rich. Because the wages in the US now is $20 an hour. Whereas in Malawi, wages are $20 a month. With $20 an hour, you are better off than anyone else. And yet that's the minimum wage. That's the economically sensible wage. Because you have a lot of labor demands than the supply side, and therefore people can demand better salaries, they have better salaries, and everybody else is well off. So to bridge the gap between the rich and the poor, it is through the wage. It is the wage that equalizes between the rich and the poor. In any economy anyway, when you're talking about a capitalist society, you still have capitalists, owners of business and companies. You will still have mask on mask with you. You still have other rich people that are running proper businesses and are rich out of their businesses. But for everyone else, it is through the wage that determines how well they'll be in an economy. Highly technical, right? This is a technical discussion. In terms of misbehaving party officials, I think right from the hiring, and I don't want to brag about this. I don't want to brag about this, but I want to say this. I'm amazed with the quality of the people in UTM. Get the Central Committee of UTM, the NEC of UTM, their credentials, qualifications, academic qualifications, and everything else, professional background, and what they have achieved in life. Compare with MCP, compare with the DPP, compare with others. I guarantee you, level by level, those in the UTM, they might find organizable. Actually, if once we win in September, once UTM wins in September, it will be hard to appoint ministers because you have the brains. You have the people that have impeccable credentials. Some are young. I mean, look at our national director of youth was once at Unima. You look at our vice presidents. They have PhDs. You look at every position that you can look at. They are the people with the brains. That's why we can think with our brains everything what we're doing. So in terms of meritorious appointments, be guaranteed that the UTM, when it takes government, it will look for the finest minister of finance probably the country has never seen. It will get the finest minister of labor you have never seen, finest minister of agriculture and so forth, who will get the best of the best because UTM crop is the best. But that does not mean that if they misbehave, they'll be left in their positions. The reason why we're going to remove immunity for the presidency to be prosecuted is that there'll be no sacred cows, no one is above the law. As the president is not above the law, no minister will be above the law. The president will be prosecuted if he has done something wrong. The ministers will be prosecuted if they have done something wrong. Nobody will be spared. Once you spare someone, you create and breed a culture where people can do things and nothing happens to them. That will never be tolerated under UTM. If you look at the three pillars on which UTM is standing on, the three pillars of UTM, number one is meritorious appointments. No tribalism, nepotism, and cronyism. Number two is a total fight of corruption. No mercy on corruption. Number three is the issue of transforming Malawi to be a better nation. Those are the three pillars on which UTM stands for. So UTM presidency, UTM government will never tolerate corruption, even the slightest or the smallest corruption. Should you join us should we appoint you, be prepared to be our Father in heaven. Holy art thou, Lord, be. The issue of the stable exchange rate, how do you create a stable exchange? It's very simple to create a stable exchange rate. It's all about supply and demand. That's supply and demand. That is all. For those of you who are familiar with the supply and demand curve, at the point of intersection, that is the proper exchange rate that we are going to get. If you have more supply of foreign currency in an economy than it is demanded, the Kwacha will appreciate. If you have more demand of foreign exchange than the Kwacha is able to do it, then the Kwacha depreciate. If you have more demand for foreign exchange than it's being supplied, you are going to have depreciation. It's as simple as that. Actually, to kill the black market, to sort out the exchange rate, I'm telling you today, on the 16th September when you go into government, the first day we'll sort out the exchange rate. From that day on, things will be better. It is not rocket science. It is not rocket science. Does not even require you to be an economist. It's as simple as equalizing demand versus supply. The rate at which demand equals supply, it's the exchange rate. Period. You don't have to bother about anything else. But when you are mischievous, you know that the demand is here, supply is here, and you want to force banks to say, banks, you must sell your dollars at 1,700 a kwacha. Forcing banks, it doesn't work. You can go and arrest people as you want. You can search in people's homes as much as you want. It doesn't work. It doesn't. Just equalize demand, supply, know your demand and supply curve. You know that is the market rate for clearing the kwacha dollar rate. That's the exchange rate. It's as simple as that. And I wonder, these people went to school. Which school did they go? I mean, as simple as that. Why are they failing to do it? That's why during my time, and if we go in, we will tell the governor, correct this. They will correct this same day the market has equalized. That's it. And once we do these things, you are going to push for more supply of dollars in the economy. As you produce in agriculture, you produce in mining, you produce in manufacturing, as you produce, you get a lot of dollars from tourism, and as you export these other things, you are having a lot of excess forex. With that, as long as demand is lower than the supply, you are going to see your kwacha appreciating. And I want to say this, I want to challenge Malawians. If UTM wins on 16, we also want to knock off 2 zeros on the kwacha currency. We'll knock off 2 zeros. I mean, it's crazy. You can't be talking of 4,000 kwacha to $1. No, it's crazy. Completely crazy. Then your kwacha is useless. We must dream like Dr. Hastings Banda, the late, and say our kwacha has value. Let's knock off 2. How about 40 kwacha equals $1? Can you do it? It can be done. Zambia did it. Kenya did it. Other countries have done it. We will do it. We'll knock off Bupa and bring the kwacha closer to the dollar by the time of 5-year period. We understand the mechanics. You can do it, and we'll do it. And through this is what we're going to achieve at the end of the day. Because it's embarrassing. You have to pick a bag of money for you to buy just something from abroad. It doesn't make sense. It simply doesn't make sense. So I think the issue of the exchange rate, the economists would understand what I'm talking about. The supply and demand issue and the caves that it explains. Then the issue of the recurrent versus development budget. and how one will deal with the issue of the huge debt. I want to emphasize this point. Whoever is becoming the president of the Republic of Malawi on 16th September is inheriting a broken economy. It must be understood. You are inheriting a deeply, deeply broken economy. You are inheriting 16 to 18 trillion Kwacha debt. You are inheriting the largest misalignment in the exchange rate this country has ever seen. You are inheriting a policy rate that is misaligned with the real rate on the economy. By far, almost double its rate. You are inheriting, I've seen those of you are going around the fields. Maize has not done well because the AIP was mismanaged, fertilizer prices are up. You are inheriting a society where there's no food, starvation is across the corner. And you are inheriting an economy where you have too many people in the public sector, and yet the government is failing to generate anything. You are inheriting a situation where businesses are closing down, companies are shut down. Young women and men that are leaving university, they have no jobs. You are inheriting hospitals that are going down. You are inheriting an education system that is unable, that's not fit for purpose. You are inheriting a lot of challenges. The question is, the contenders, I'm looking forward to a debate with the other presidential candidates. I want to listen from them. What are they going to do? Because it's easy to say, I want to be a president. I want to be a president. But do you understand what it means with this house that I want to be a president? You are inheriting a serious economic collapse. How are you going to turn around within a short space of time and better improve the quality of lives of Malawians? A government is there to improve the quality of its people. How are you going to do it? And therefore this question, whoever asked this question, it's a very, very important question. We need to ask each one of us who are presidential contenders, how are you going to do it? Because failure to answer this question, I can guarantee you, we will come back here in 2030 after 5 years. The situation will be worse off than what it is today. And that's what may happen quite easily if we mess up the 16th September general election. Unless we get it right and get the right person who understands what is at stake, we are not going to be a better nation 5 years down the line. And that's my parting shot to Malawians. My brother who asked this question, my sister, here I am. Here I am. And I take this challenge, and I think that's a challenge that the whole UTM must understand. It's not going to be easy. We have to take tough economic policies and measures, very, very tough, to address all these ills in the economy. If we do right the first and second year, do it right, do the right investments, in the third, fourth, fifth year, you will see the country turning for the better and moving forward as a better nation. But continuing with whatever we have been doing all along, it's a disaster, and we're just pushing people's lives beyond redemption. People are dying because they can't afford the fertilizer anymore. They can't afford a bag of maize. They can't afford anything. They are dying. People are failing school. They can't afford to pay school fees. People are dying. They don't have medicines in hospitals. How are you going to address all these ills? If you don't understand how you're going to address it, maybe it's better you don't go on the race of the presidents. Unless you answer that question that was asked. My brother, we are geared. We are determined. We know where to touch, how to deal with these things. We shall deal and tackle with every issue, from fiscal to monetary to exchange rate to real sector. And that is what I've been explaining the whole afternoon, what may be required to do the right things and address the country's economic woes. Malawians have suffered for too long. We have suffered. We cannot continue suffering the way that we are suffering. It is our leaders who have brought us where we are as I finish the presentation. Thank you so much.
Wow. That was brilliant in my opinion, isn't it? For sure, some of us, we are very lucky to belong to Team DK. We are very lucky to be UTM members. Because yes, we have been to the corridors of of these colleges, but for sure, most of the things that we are learning every day are just an added advantage to only a few of us who are close to decay. Thank you so much, Your Excellency, for the message and the education that you are giving to us almost each and every day. We are continuing our learning. Every day we are learning something new from you. As we close, before I ask someone to pray for us, I wanted to remind each one of us that we remain seated until the president is out of this hall. That's the message that I wanted. But I'm told there will be a group photograph. I don't know how is it going to be done. I don't think that would be possible. Looking at the time, because in the hall, the setup of the hall won't make that possible, unfortunately. But probably the president will be giving us some more time before we even go to the general elections, that we also have some time to have something similar to this. Once again, thank you so much for your attention. Thank you so much, the people, for the message imparted on us, and also thank you so much for your willingness to be part of this third revolution. We believe in you, and we believe that you'll be part of the solution to the problems that Malawi has as a nation. And we believe that you will participate in this, in healing Malawi, because it's not only a one team, a one member show. No, it's not a boxing where you have one player the other side and one player the other side. No, we have all a part to play in this journey as we try to rescue the mother Malawi. Thank you so much. Can I ask our player?
Osaiwala kupanga subscribe ku channel ya AMTV Malawi.